Hey guys, this is isnortbooze from Betcoin Poker on the road, coming to you from Greektown Casino in Detroit, Michigan, with an exciting new episode of Tipsy Talk. Since the UIGEA passed in 2006, the United States government has made it very difficult for online poker players to make a living or just have some fun by making it illegal for banks to process internet gambling transactions. And since 2006, Americans have been coming up with new ways to get around those laws, the latest which, of course, is by using Bitcoin. On today's Tipsy Talk, we have a very special guest who has dedicated his life to the pursuit of freedom for Americans. And he will be making a presidential run in 2020, Mr. Adam Kokesh. Welcome to the show, Adam. Super happy to have you, man.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Yeah, man. Not sure if you actually remember meeting me, man. As you heard, I go by isnortbooze online, and I'm the dude who came to your interview, your debate with Augustus a few months ago, and brought a backpack full of beers and kept trying to make you drink beers, man.
You had more hair then, as I recall.
I had a fro thing going there, man. But yeah, man, thank you so much for being here, man. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. First off, obviously this is for Betcoin Poker, man. You have any experience in the poker world?
Well, believe it or not, I actually played. When I feel like I want to brag about it, I think I can say professionally, I was a sergeant in the Marines and full time, and I made more money playing poker in person at the Ocean's 11 Casino in Oceanside, California, than I was making in the Marines. I should have bought Bitcoin with that money, but no, I wasn't a very wise investor at that point. I don't have much experience playing online. I've just dabbled in it, but. I've always been, uniquely appreciative from that experience. Just barely getting to the point where I knew, like, if I wanted to be a grinder, I'm not like saying that you can make that much money. Is really just a matter of discipline more than intelligence or skill or any magical abilities. It's really about discipline and sort of bankroll management and knowing what games to get into. And having fun and enjoying the process enough to make it sustainable. And I got just involved enough to be like, yeah, all right, if I wanted to be a grinder, I could. But I grew up playing penny poker with my family, and then I hosted I had a monthly poker game going when I was living in Virginia in the house that got raided, before it got raided, of course, where we had, consistently about 30 players for a while, and it was real fun, just like $20 buy-in, one rebuy, elimination tournament, 50, 30, 20 payouts, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoy it. It's funny now because I'm actually the guys here at Freedom Farm who are living with me now, Shane Lerner and Aaron Askew, and a couple other people here are into chess, and so chess is now it's the easier, quicker. It's like a version for me. It's like that new intellectual challenge, but. When we get set up here, we'll be hosting some poker nights again, I'm sure.
Yeah, man, a lot of poker guys and chess guys are kind of intermixing them now. It kind of has the same type of, thought process behind it.
Yeah, and why can't you put money on chess, right?
Exactly, man. So like I was saying earlier, with regard to online poker, 2006, the U.S. government passes the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act, making it not illegal to play poker, but, essentially illegal to play poker because the banks can no longer process the transactions for it. So the government, so the U.S. poker sites were kind of getting around that by having, processors, be the middleman for those payments for a while. Then in 2011, that kind of got broken up, and all the sites got charged for money laundering. So now here we are at Bitcoin, which is our new way to kind of skirt the legislation, man. So what do you think about Bitcoin, man? What are your hopes for it? Where do you see it headed in the future?
I've been a fan of Bitcoin. I wish I could say from the beginning, but I'll just say I spent way too many $5 Bitcoins on the Silk Road in its earliest version. And that was how I got into it, and I was a big promoter of it based on what it made possible in terms of the whole vision of Ross Ulbricht, if he is responsible for whatever, but Red Pirate Roberts, the vision that was put forth of what the Silk Road made possible was just incredible. Just that, and of course, right away, I was able to see that it wasn't just Bitcoin; it was the concept of cryptocurrency and the blockchain. And of course, the blockchain makes so many other things possible, but that cryptocurrency is eventually going to completely displace everything else. There may be some other limited free market currencies competing. There may be some gold backed, some silver backed, things like that. But really, the future is in crypto. And the only thing I think we cannot say as certainly right now is that it'll be Bitcoin or not. And this is where I'm like, yeah, over my head. I don't need to know this. But for some people, I know. I've interviewed Andreas Antonopoulos, and he's a big fan of Bitcoin till the very end. Roger Ver, similar views. And then there are other people who are just like, no, it can't be Bitcoin. It's going to be one of these altcoins out there right now. I just, silly little play I made. I put $100 into Nexus Coin like 6 months ago, and it's gone up about 18-fold since then. So made a nice little play on that. Recently found out that the Doge I had locked up in a Cryptsy account is now unavailable because that was an exchange that went bust. That's my fault for not paying attention to that. I didn't see that happening. But you win some, you lose some, and we're right now. What's the market cap of Bitcoin? Like I don't even keep up with this, but it's something in the realm, I suppose, of 15 to 20 billion. And all cryptos all together. I don't think they've ever hit 30 billion. Compared to the trillions of however you want to count it, money that makes up the global monetary supply, there's going to be another huge boom in cryptocurrency. Within the next, hard to say, but I can't imagine it being more than 5 to 10 years before we see. I mean, Bitcoin's taken off right now. It's cleared 1,700 recently.
Cleared 1,800.
What's that?
Well, yeah,
I saw it. 18 just today, but I try not to be, when it just pokes through one of those landmarks, I try not to be like, hey, it's because I think it's going to correct down a little bit. It's been on a big tear recently, but I used to trade cryptos actually. When I got out of jail, I had when there were 2 weeks when Bitcoin was more or less steady at 800 and just sort of fluctuating around 800. And so just trading altcoins on BTCE, I was able to double my holdings, and it saved my ass when I got out of jail and had all my money, all my fiat was stolen, and most of my property was taken. So it was really, it's been a real lifesaver for me already. I think it's already got a huge place, in practical exchange in a way that's starting to displace the dollar. There's another leap of practical implementation that it has to get to, obviously, before it takes that next leap. I think maybe, and it's hard to say, I think there's going to be a leap to where it starts being competitive, where we see maybe Bitcoin get to like 10,000. But then when it displaces the dollar, and somebody who's smarter than me has probably done the math on this, but when it displaces all fiat currency globally, if it's Bitcoin, a single Bitcoin would be like $1 million, and we wouldn't even be talking about Bitcoins except in those huge quantities. We'd be talking about Satoshis. And I think that time, there's going to be sort of like at least these two major phases. You can break it down, whatever. I'm talking way over my pay grade now when it comes to crypto, but you can tell I'm a fan. I see the potential, and I'm very confident that if it's not Bitcoin, some crypto is going to be the future of money. And this is how we escape the whole government fiat currency racket. I mean, it's absolutely critical to the process of humanity moving forward that we have this technology now of cryptocurrency, the concept of a blockchain-based monetary system that is eventually going to render all fiat currency obsolete. That is so exciting, and it is so critical to taking that away from the existing government racketeers.
Completely agree with you, man, and I think the people on Betcoin who will be watching this all will be in agreement with you as well, man. One point you made in your book was about government never punishing someone for a victimless crime. To me, poker is a victimless crime because, you know, the people who are losing go into it knowing that they may lose. As someone who's kind of no longer in the poker world, what's your perspective on that?
Oh, well, of course, no victim, no crime. And if I may make the bigger point of the book that I think is really, really critical, if people could just understand this, you know, aside from voluntarism as an ethical principle, freedom is an ethical principle. When no one is doing anything unethical to you, your rights are respected, you are free, you are at peace. But if there's no victim, there's no crime. So it's really important to separate punishment from justice. And justice is when you have a real crime, you have a real victim. And if there's a threat to society, if there's an active threat in a person, that threat may be forcibly isolated, or that value that has been taken in that real crime is restored and the victims are made whole. That's justice. It has two components: isolating real threats, making victims whole. That's justice. If you're not doing that, it's punishment. And punishment is, I'm going to hurt you or steal from you or lessen the quality of your life because I don't like something that you did. Not because it's unethical, not because there's a victim, not because some restitution is justified, but because I didn't like it and I want to control you. That's punishment. So anytime you are putting someone in jail or fining them or giving them a fee or anything for a victimless crime, you are the criminal. And so government, in this fundamental sense, is a criminal institution because it requires punishment to exist.
Completely agree, man. I am a big fan of your book, Freedom. Actually, I brought it on the plane with me today. I was worried they might detain me or something, or put me on some kind of list.
It's happened to me before. I get recognized every time I go through TSA checkpoints now. I've even had those books like scanned separately because it's, you know, dangerous material. By the way, the book is banned in U.S. jails and prisons, which is kind of funny because I started writing it when I was in jail. But I think that's man. Like it's the best endorsement possible for the United States Department of Justice to have banned it. So I'm like very happy.
I actually gave a copy of your book to my wife. I was like, listen, if you, like, she doesn't understand the way I feel politically a lot of the time. I was like, read this book. What he says in this book, that's how I feel. So I'm on the same page with you on pretty much everything, man.
She read it?
Yeah, man. She's on it. She's on it. She hasn't completed it yet. She's a very busy girl, but she's reading it. She's reading it and she's learning it. She's interested.
The best criticism I've had of the book was from someone who was a longtime libertarian activist. He was like, well, I don't know. I've heard about all this stuff before, but I suppose if it was someone new to the message, yeah, I would want to give them this book. And it's like, yes, that's the point. This book is not for you. It's for people like your wife who just are like, look, I don't care about this stuff that much. I'm happy to enjoy the freedoms that I have. But hey, if it's important to you, you want me to read 100 pages, you want me to listen to a 3-hour audiobook, I'll sit down, I'll do it. I've made it easy as possible. You know, here it is. I want you to be able to have this message, you know, as efficiently and as easily as possible.
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of the inspiration for the presidential campaign, if I may segue to that, because I am gearing up to run for not president in 2020. And I say that very seriously in the sense that I am not going to be president longer than it takes to sign a single executive order that initiates the peaceful, orderly dissolution of the entire United States federal government. So neutralize, privatize, localize. Neutralize is we immediately declare the federal government of no authority whatsoever. It's essentially bankrupt, defunct, and I resign as president to become custodian of the federal government. With that executive order, we appoint members of a not cabinet to be custodians of every department necessary to carry out the process of liquidation and privatization and localization. So privatization, the second part, I love the VA as an example of this because the VA, there's no reason it should not exist. It just shouldn't be funded by tax dollars. We have 22 veteran suicides a day in America today. If we took the VA, gave it an endowment by selling off a portion of the Department of Defense, and gave every single veteran in America a single voting share, I guarantee you those resources would be better allocated to serve veterans, and you wouldn't have 22 veteran suicides a day. Same with Social Security. The remaining funds after the government is entirely liquidated should go to fund Social Security until it runs out, with ownership being based upon who's got an investment in it, getting it as best as they can without government being able to take it away. But we immediately separate it from the forced, coercive collection of the funds that go into that. No more federal taxation, of course. No more IRS, in case if I didn't make that perfectly clear, no more IRS. Now, the third part, localization. Certain parts of the federal government need to be localized down to the states. I love roads, for example. I don't understand why people say, well, what about the roads when we talk about, hey, let's have a society without the state, without government. And just to be clear, when I use the word government, if you were to say corporate government or family government, well, then my word would not apply to your usage. When I say government, we mean the institution of the state that is based upon coercion. If you have a version of the state, a version of government that is not coercive, by my definition, the way I'm using it, it is no longer government. It's a private security contractor. It's a charity. It's a company. You want to call it a corporation, a nonprofit. It's a private enterprise, whatever the case may be, and it is non-coercive, it is non-violent. It doesn't rely on the state's territorial monopoly on violence to collect taxes, to pay for its revenue. It is voluntary. So there's a different word for it at that point. It is no longer government. But localized, like I love roads. I want there to be great roads. In fact, it is a real tragedy that roads are as bad as they are in America.
It really is.
4,000 deaths a year. In New Mexico, where I sort of grew up, we have corruption where the interstate interchanges get placed near property owned by politicians. And it's obviously not there to serve the needs of the people. We need to get government out of that eventually. But I don't want to stop maintaining interstate highways. That's ridiculous. Take the Department of Transportation, localize it down to the states. Immediately, resources will be better allocated to serve people's transportation needs. So certain things need to be localized. There are some dangerous criminals in federal custody who can be transferred to local custody. But anyone who's in jail in federal facilities for victimless crimes is released as soon as we get those cases sorted out, get things organized so we can do it in a peaceful, orderly manner, like I said. But, drug war is over, no more IRS, troops come home, no more foreign entanglements, no more aggressive military action, no more stifling regulation, no more Federal Reserve System. It's spun off and allowed to be put to a slow death at the hands of the market at the pace that the market deems appropriate, no more federal financial regulations, no more silly laws about online poker, as petty as that may seem in comparison to everything else. But yes, one less thing to worry about.
That's a big issue for me, man. I mean, but seriously, when I'm looking for a candidate, that's the most important issue to me. I mean, this is my livelihood, online poker. I mean, there's no other issue that's...
I know online poker is important to you. I don't mean to demean that, but what about no more war?
Okay,
what about
that's a good
no
one.
more taxation at the federal level, no more massive ripoff, no more IRS, no more nuclear arsenal. The nuclear arsenal is disabled and the part sold off for industrial purposes.
The IRS is another big one because, as you probably know, the World Series of Poker is coming up in a couple months where they're going to be awarding, $50 million worth of prizes, and the government's going to be taking about $25 million of that for, doing jack shit for that 2-month period. So definitely getting rid of some taxation, would be a plus for all of us. With regard to your presidential run, man, is your plan to kind of be the libertarian nominee or run independently of that, or?
Yes, no. So I'm very, very serious about running for the LP nomination, and if people want to get involved in this at this point, really, there are a lot of objectives to this, and I want to put this in perspective. First, I want to say this is not about me. This is not I'm going to be president, because that's the most unlibertarian thing you could possibly say. But this is about the platform of the peaceful, orderly dissolution of the federal government. We are putting the institution in place through what we're calling the American Referendum Project to ensure that if anything happens to me, any investment in this organization under the Kokesh for Not President organization can continue to support this platform, and whoever steps up to be the candidate to run on this platform. It is about the idea. It is about moving humanity forward. It is about localization. Not me. Just I get to be the salesman, the custodian of this particular process as long as I'm here to do this. Until someone better comes along to take my job, as I would be totally happy if I could just really retire and go back to... This is my play here. I get to like play all day building my homestead. I'm an alternative architecture geek in construction. That's my thing. Earthships, geodesic domes, all of that, off-grid living. The next thing, though, is that right now, getting involved, it needs to be understood that the objective is the abolition of the federal government of the United States of America, because it is essential to moving humanity forward. This might not be possible by what I'm saying, as in like, hey, I'll go manage this process and we can be done with it. It might happen by a collapse. It might happen by a broad secession movement, either of which I'd be generally happy about. And by running on this platform and waking people up and spreading the message of freedom, this is how we ensure that this transition, however it is going to happen, will be as peaceful as possible, and that as few people will need to suffer in the course of this transition. So I don't want to tell people, it's going to happen this way, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to, no, this is a different kind of campaign. This is a different kind of objective. And so right now, spreading the message, waking people up is as important as anything. And you know what I mean by winning a convert, as someone who thinks for themselves and understands that government is fundamentally a racket. It does not operate in their best interest. So those things, absolutely essential. If you want to support me in this effort in particular, please go to the website, thefreedomline.com. Scott, if you could hold it up, it's on the back of the book. I should really have a copy handy. Thefreedomline.com. There it is. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm actually feeling like that.
I think that's backwards, actually, but
anyway,
thefreedomline.com. I'm going to put it in the article as well. Thefreedomline.com. I'm going to put it in the article.
Excellent.
You have a couple more minutes to talk about some fun things, or you got to run?
Well, no. Let me just wrap this up. I got a few more minutes. But
okay.
I do have someone waiting for me here.
Okay.
So right now you can sign up in the forums under your state and pledge to be a delegate. You can get involved with the Libertarian Party. I know a lot of people don't like politics at all. This is not politics. This is anti-politics. And I have never heard a single complaint about the Libertarian Party that would not have been solved by the person complaining showing up and doing something about it. We can make this a platform to spread these ideas. Whether you like the party or not, whether you like politics or not, doesn't matter. If you see the value in this, please find a way to get involved. And if you want to do the minimal thing for me to help me take these ideas to a broader stage, start showing up to your local LP meetings, whether it's at the county level or the state level, and get in position to be a delegate for the convention in 2018 and in 2020. If you do nothing else, you can come and help vote at the conventions for this platform. That would be the most essential thing. And of course, you can donate there. You can get the book, and all of the support in that regard is very much appreciated as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. Again, that's thefreedomline.com. You can find out more information about Adam there. You can order the book. You can donate. You can, volunteer to become, to help the cause in different ways. And hey, man, again, thank you so much for joining us, man. This has been a lot of fun and very enlightening, and we really, really appreciate having you.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate the opportunity. I hope, if nothing else, that what I was able to share in this interview with your viewers and listeners and your readership is that there really is a fundamental cause that is moving humanity forward right now, the freedom movement. And I can't think of a more exciting time to be alive and a more exciting thing to be a part of.
Very much so. Thanks again, Adam.
Thank you, brother.